give people the tools and techniques and capabilities so they can actually get something done instead of binge watching and gaining about 10 to 15 pounds while they're sitting around doing nothing.
Check out the website, survivethequarantine.com. It is a amazing website. He's got all sorts of things going on over there. So this book, talk to me a little bit about the writing process for this book.
So what I understood is that I was in the process of launching my book, which I had the opportunity to talk to you guys about just a little bit ago.
Yes.
And launched it on March the 17th. You talk about the worst headwinds I could launch anything in. And, I just call it like a whisper in a hurricane problem. Anyway, in the process of developing that launch plan, sitting there with my co-author, my business partner, I said, we got to get this book out about remote work. And 3 continents, 5 countries, we brought people together and said, how do we write this and get it done in 2 weeks? And we did it.
Wow.
In fact, we launched it on a 2.5-hour Zoom call, and I was sitting in a parking lot on a cell phone doing this time productive.
Fantastic. John Paul Mendoga with us today. He joins us live here on Skype Audio to discuss his incredible book. So what do you want readers to take away from your writing of this great book?
Well, what I want them to do is understand that, first off, you don't need to be isolated. You don't need to be unproductive. And more importantly, that this isn't just a drill, right? Life, there's no rehearsal. This is it. And that means that we've got to understand that when we get through with this on the other side, I believe this isn't a deflection. Deflection is, we go in a different direction, it snaps back. I think this is an inflection. We're going to see more remote work than ever before because there's 3 reasons why remote work is going to become more and more dominant. And if you don't understand how to do it well, you're going to be left behind.
It is a amazing time we live in. We have got a great guest with us today, and with this book, what is some of your goals for this book?
Well, one of my goals for the book is to make sure that your listeners, everyone, understands that we can do things today that we couldn't do 5 or 10 years ago. If this had happened 10 or 15 years ago, we'd have a whole different mindset. Today, though, using a service like Zoom, using the discussions and the insights that we provide, you can literally do meaningful work. You can actually work with people anywhere on the planet. You can go out there and get your message out. More importantly, we even think about this. We talk about how to interview people for a job, and we teach you how to be interviewed for a job via Zoom. And that alone will give you at least something to do while you're sitting here going, well, wait a second, I don't know if I'm going to have a job at the other side. Well, hone those skills.
That's awesome. So what's been some feedback you've gotten on the book so far? With as far as positive reviews, negative reviews, things like that.
Well, the unexpected one is always fascinating. Just released the book on Amazon, and by the way, it's 99 cents. We tried to make it so everybody gets cheaper than going to Starbucks. And what first review we got, 78-year-old grandmother, Pennsylvania. She goes, this book gave me the confidence. I got on Zoom. I started working through this thing. She reached out and connected with us via our website. We've talked to her. Here's the thing, 78, she got all of her senior friends together. They're doing Bible study via Zoom. She's now connecting with her grandchildren. She's now working to have, family gatherings. Reached out and told her pastor, you know what, we don't have to shut down. We can go use this. That was an unexpected piece of feedback that we never thought we'd get.
Fantastic stuff. Now, talk to me about the writing process. You mentioned you brought all these people together, and you tried to get this book done as quick as humanly possible.
Everybody got a piece that they had to do and started writing, but we had to try to turn it into one voice to the best of our ability, and we gave ourselves a 2-week deadline. And in 2 weeks, we assembled, it's well over 100 pages, so it's not a pamphlet, lots of pamphlets on Amazon, but it's a real book. And what we did is we sat down and we actually did a read-through. just as if your readers were going to see it. We did a read-through, 5.5 hours on Zoom. Again, everybody attended, all those time zones, all those countries. And then what we did is we spent another day and a half and we launched it. So in essence, in less than 3 weeks, we got a book from inception to finished and then worked at getting it up onto Amazon. That was probably one of the toughest hurdles, getting it on Amazon, because we wanted to talk about coronavirus on the cover, and Amazon said, no, that's a bad thing to talk about. So we had to decide on how to get it up there, you know?
Well, and yeah, there's all sorts of all sorts of things that can be said with that. But this book, you put a lot of time and effort into this. Talk to me about some of the different people that helped you with this book.
So one of our co-authors is a gentleman by the name of Tom Malash. Tom has expertise in Facebook advertising, but not only that, he has worked to train people in a certain type of programming called Agile. And he has worked with, of the Fortune 5, not 500, 5, he's worked with 2 of those. And he's been doing really remote work for about 15, 20 years. So he brought his expertise, but also how to make it a better experience. We want the technology, we want to get everybody so good that the technology fades into the background, that it's really the communications, just like you and I are having right now. We'd have the same conversation if we were sitting there, you know, and there's a bowl of pretzels and a couple of beers, we'd be having this conversation. But we want to have that same kind of feel when you're doing a remote meeting.
It is a great guest with us today. He joins us live here in a broadcast. Well, I remember years and years ago when I built this radio studio essentially out of, you know, parts that I gathered together, and I had all sorts of people, you know, making fun of me and mocking me and everything, and I'm like, and I look at the radio industry now and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I win in the end. And it's the same thing here with you guys. You guys have come up with all sorts of things here that you know, people are having to get used to the new normal, essentially.
Well, right. And what I don't want them to have to go through is that, you know, I moved out of a corporate office many years ago and started doing just like you did. I built a space in my house. So my commute when I'm home is 16 steps. So all I really need is a strong cup of coffee and I can make the distance. That's all I need. Now, the important part about it is that I don't want people to go through that same kind of learning curve and those kinds of challenges. And on top of it, we want to show them how to plan it. Here's a real quick, simple formula. We want you to think about what you're going to do before you have that virtual meeting, that remote meeting. Then we want you to have the meeting and get the best possible results. And then we want to show you what to do after you've had it. See, the centerpiece, which is the meeting, is where most of the technology people focus. But really, it's the planning ahead of time and then what you're going to do after it and how vital and important that is and what you can do with it, especially if your listeners are thinking, well, I'd like to get my message in and create content. Well, I can tell you we create content every single day by using these kinds of methods.
Well, it definitely is a heck of a process. So talk to us a little bit about where you see this book going. What do you see people using this book for that you never envisioned?
Well, what I see is that remote work is really a tip of a bigger iceberg. The iceberg is virtualization. I see that businesses are going to go to virtualize. I said before, there are 3 positive things that happen from virtualization. Number one is if you own or run a business, you're going to cut costs. Isn't that a good idea? The second thing is you're going to increase profitability. And the third thing is, and if you're interested in this, is that if you want to reduce the greenhouse gases, you're into any of that, this is the fastest, best way to do it. You don't even have to plug in and charge up your car. I mean, I don't need to worry about range anxiety. Like I said, I got 16 steps I got to make. So it changes that mix. And really, here's the cherry on the sundae, because I know everybody likes a little cherry on the sundae, is this. You're going to change how you feel about yourself, because when you're working, but then you can then have some different experience and different downtime. Those who really get good at remote work don't have the anxiety and fear that they're sitting there in the office, that cubicle going, Uh-oh, do I look busy enough? Uh-oh, does anybody watch me? Uh-oh. Because the hardest thing is to even just think. You know, I always had a person who sat there and whenever he had a little bit of free time, he would read. And boss man comes to me and says, "John, you got to fire him." I said, "Why is that?" And he goes, "Doesn't look like he's working." I said, "Okay, well, let me go get him a toy that he can spin or something, so you can say, oh, he's doing something." Thinking is really working. Think is important. So what I hope it's going to do is get us to virtualization, which is a very powerful concept.
We have got a great guest with us today. Survived the quarantine, how to thrive in the post-coronavirus economy through remote work. And the author, one of the many authors, joins us today here in the broadcast. So spotlight some of the other folks that were involved in this and that you consulted to put this whole thing together.
One of them is very proud is my brother, Michael, and he's the guy who tells people how to go out and get jobs. He's been in the recruiting business. Looked at 65,000 resumes, and what he did is he went through and talked about how to interview somebody if you're going to interview somebody who's in a remote location, and how to understand how to do that to do a better screening, and then also teach people how to be interviewed so that way they can get a job. That's a real positive. Another one is my partner Gabe Batista. Gabe has very close ties with Latin America. In fact, because of Gabe, we ended up bringing a young man, Fritz, who 22 years old. He's in Peru. Right now he's in lockdown. Now, see, they got a different lockdown method than we have here in the States, because if the police get you out on the street, they arrest you, you know. So he was able to come in and help us put together the book, and that's outstanding. And he was able to do that remotely like that. So those are some of the folks that we had in this project.
It's pretty amazing. I appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks for coming on, and I look forward to talking to you as we move down the line with this whole thing.
Always great, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me back on, and wish great success to all your listeners.
Definitely. Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you, brother. There he goes, John Paul Mendoka.